The National Assembly today passed the 70,000 naira new national minimum wage bill transmitted to it by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The bill, which was passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives today, also reduced the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 to 3 years. The passing of the new national minimum wage directly impacts the livelihood of millions across the nation. This new wage policy promises to bring significant change to the financial well-being of workers and the broader economy. What does this new national minimum wage entail? Its potential effects on businesses and employees, and the broader implications for the Nigerian people. As it is with the program, we have experts and analysts to provide us insights and answers to pressing questions about this critical development. Nigeria Today will explore the nuances of the new national wage and what it means for you and the country at large. Welcome to another episode of Nigeria Today. I am your carrier, Clinton.
It's a welcome development because since NLC, when they got back to the Congress, what they reported was that the president agreed to increase to 250. But if he does that, he's going to increase the PMS price. That's petroleum price. And that will have another negative effect, particularly that we, the civil servant, also need to do some level of sacrifice for those who are not in the labor market. So that is a good, that's why at least we looked at it as a good, as a welcome development.
That are collecting minimum wage salary will be happy. We know that the country is very in a critical condition, but I know as far as this development is movement, we don't know. Maybe if this development can go on, another government may come and okay, let's increase the salary to be more than this and let's reduce the increment, let it be 1 year or 2 years. At least every blessed year there will be a change of salaries. At least the country will be happy.
For them to reduce the years, that is a new thing. That is a good thing for civil servants to appreciate the government for their efforts. So we thank God for that. But we pray that they will keep to their promise.
Government has reviewed the minimum wage, and that minimum wage is not that much compared to the cost of food items and other items in the market. We are hoping the traders, the people in the market will not see that minimum wage as a huge increment and then reflect that in their own prices too.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Now, joining us to discuss passage of the new national minimum wage is Nuhu Bulus, He's a senior officer in the Office of the Auditor General. He's also a chartered accountant and a chartered tax professional. You're welcome to Nigeria today.
Thank you very much.
Also joining us in the studio is Honorable Francis Ejiogene Waive. He's a chairman, Committee on Rules and Business in the House of Representatives. It's good to have you in Nigeria today.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
I'll start with you, Honorable. Tell us about this, the new minimum wage has just been passed, and we understand it had accelerated hearing in the House. So.
Yeah, it sure should have an accelerated hearing because it's something that should be done with the speed of light, based on the hardship that Nigerians are facing. But much more than that, something happened before the bill came to the floor. Labour and the federal government reached an agreement. So there was no need to call anybody to plead with or have a public hearing and ask stakeholders what they think. The stakeholders had agreed. So what we did was to refer to the Committee of the Whole and give legislative approval to what has been agreed. And we are glad that we're able to do this so that it can come into effect immediately. So we expect that Mr. President will be giving his assent any moment from now. And that will be history to 30,000 naira wage bill for Nigerians, minimum wage.
Now, Bulus, you of course you had the honourable. They had to give us accelerated hearing because of its importance to the workers in Nigeria. Now, tell us, quite a lot of workers have been asking, what does it translate to? Some said, okay, which means 40,000 will now be added to my original salary. So tell us in Naira and Kobo, what exactly is someone expecting? Take for instance, a level 8 officer.
Thank you very much. The passage of the new National Minimum Wage Bill Act into law today has brought us into, and with eventual assent by Mr. President to the bill, is bringing us into a new wage arena by the civil servant in this nation. Now, the adjustment here, or the calculation of what each civil servant is expected to have is usually in different dimensions. Mathematically or arithmetically, I can say that we will have the proportional adjustment, we have the percentage increase, we have the ratio. These are all avenues of calculating the new minimum wage. However, I am not as an authority here to be able to say this is what will eventually culminate to be a salary of a grade level 8 officer. There is an agency which is saddled, constitutionally saddled with this responsibility, which is the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. Once all the processes are done, the President has given his assent, they swing into action and then ensure that they produce that template based on these parameters I've outlined for you, and then be able to send across all the MDS for full implementation.
Okay, I know you can't tell us exactly how much. Now, what we really want to know, is it that, okay, the 40,000 will just be added to your salary, or there are computations, before, there should be deductions and all of that before we arrive at the take home?
Like I earlier told you, I said, basically there are competition. That's why I even outlined the different avenues of computing those minimum wage, which eventually culminate to same figure based on each of the cadre or grade level of each civil servant. Those three and other competitions I've outlined for you eventually will be the ones that will be used, that eventually will culminate what we usually call as the consequential adjustment, which is usually done by the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, which at the end of the day, they have this template. They are the ones saddled with that responsibility. Before now, we've even been seeing some few days ago across the social media, we've been seeing some figures flying about, some templates, and the agency came out and debunked that it's not coming from them. So we wait and expect Nigerians and each civil and public servant to ensure that we just hold on. The bill has just been passed. The rightful agency that is saddled with this responsibility, of course, will do the needful, and then eventually it will be sent across all MDAs and, like I earlier said, for full implementation.
Now, okay, thank you very much for that clarification, because the reason why I asked is because there has been a lot of, information on the social media about some people computing and telling us what, what should be, but it's not, just to clarify, to clear the air on that. Now, Honorable, earlier we listened to some respondents of their reaction of the the national minimum wage. Of course, it was a welcome development. Quite a lot of them were like applauding the government for what they've done. But some person said that we should the review should be every year. Okay. Meanwhile, I know as a part of the content of the bill that it was reduced from 5 to 3 years. So I want you to talk more on that.
Yeah. When salaries are increased, one of the things we must watch out for is to avoid the inflationary implication. And this is where I want to commend the leadership of Labour, that they are able to be realistic, knowing that if you increase the salaries too drastically, the current inflation rate, which is put at about 38%, which is one of the highest in recent history, would skyrocket. So, but the figure that has been agreed upon now is one that is manageable, one that will not encourage hyperinflation. So it's good. And to say that it should now be done every year, then it means that a year will come when a wheelbarrow load of naira will not buy a piece of bread. So that's being done every year is not the case. In fact, Mr. President being magnanimous to say every 3 years, it doesn't really translate into this type of a huge jump that we have just seen. The next one may not be ×2 or even 50%. It depends on what the economy will be at that time. Because for me, the issue really is the management of our exchange rate. If our exchange rate is managed properly, for me, I believe in we are running a mixed economy. It's not socialist, it's not where government is running everything. Neither is it completely capitalist, where everything is thrown to market forces. It's a mixed economy, and I think that in the management of our foreign exchange rate, government needs to also bring that element into it, so that you don't leave it to the whims and caprices of the IMF and the World Bank and the foreign bourgeoisie organizations. We should know this our country and be able to wedge for the naira, such that government's intervention from time to time and a little bit of market forces. There was a time when the naira could be said to have been overvalued, but right now it's undervalued, So we need to get to that point where the value of the naira will be shored up, so that this 70,000 will be worth more than the 30,000 in the market at the end of the day. That's where we should be working towards, and not working towards an every day or every month or every year increment. That will not help our economy. That will only bring about more inflation, and nobody wants that. Inflation won't do anybody any good. And I believe that with the kind of people Mr. President has put in the economic theme, I believe they'll be thinking in this direction. The naira has moved from about 1,800, 2,000 at one point. Now it's about 1,500. I think it can still do better, and I know that government is working on that. So in a couple of months, we'll be coming to maybe 1,002, 1,000, and at that point, your 70,000 naira will be worth more than it is today. That's what we should be working towards. That's my opinion.
Okay. So can you also tell us when it's expected to take off?
The 70,000?
Yes.
Oh, what we are waiting for now is Mr. President's assent. The day he signs on it, that's the day it becomes effective, except that the revenue, the incomes commission will have to now work out the mathematics, the arithmetic for the different levels, and then publish, so that month end, that can take effect. Otherwise, after the assent of Mr. President, which can take place tomorrow morning, depending on when the clerk to the National Assembly transmits what we have done today to the President. Once that is transmitted and he signs it into law, it becomes the operational minimum wage act for the country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable. Now, back to you, Bulis. Honorable raised an important point, the inflationary pressure, how it will affect or impact on the inflationary pressure. Now, how will the new minimum wage impact Nigeria's economy, particularly in terms of inflation and purchasing power?
Thank you, Madam. You see, with the pronouncement of this new minimum wage, as it were today, as our usual this thing in this part of the world, most of the traders, the business market women are already garnering up to be able to shoot up their price of goods and services, which ideally is not supposed to be. Because, yeah, as it were, when this thing is implemented, there will be some level of a purchasing power to an average civil servant. However, that should not be a basis. And as I speak, I'm also pleading to every of our market women, businessmen, our providers of goods and services to please not allow a mess of this increase in national minimum wage. Because by the time everybody begin to hear that there is an increase in minimum wage and everybody begin to shoot the price of his goods and services, there's going to be make a mess of the increase in the minimum wage. However, that does not mean, like I earlier said, there should be, there's a way it culminates even to the providers of goods and services, because now there is some little additional of purchasing power to an average civil servant, which will make him more, that can make him go to the market more. What you could not be able to afford by some few days, he cannot be able to afford, which in a way translates into some financial benefits to the providers of goods and services, which they might not necessarily need to increase or bring about inflationary costs on this increase of national minimum wage.
Thank you very much. Before you continue, Honorable, you know, these market people, they have a way of getting information. Even before this time, they'll tell you, they've increased your salary now, so why can't you buy this?
But I don't think we are going to experience that jump in price of goods and services. When I was in primary school, there was this dodgy thing that was done. And before when government just set up the thing and put Dodgy in charge of it, prices started going up immediately. And then last year, you remember when there was hiking, just for Mr. President to say subsidy is gone. Prices. But this, you will notice in this very case, that since Labour and the government agreed on 70,000, there's not been any hike, noticeable hike. And I don't think that will happen. Because one, Labour was clever not to go for a figure that will be so high that people would jump at. But at 70, there's a feeling that nothing much is really added, you know. And if there was going to be, with the way we react, the Nigerian market reacts, before the signing into law, the prices would have shot up. So I believe that they won't go more than what they are now, but that does not stop us from appealing to our traders, our businessmen. What is important is your turnover. If you are trading, how many times you are able to sell what you are selling? If you are making a naira and you are able to sell more in a day, you add that naira to the total number you sell that day, it gets you a figure. But if you increase your profit and you sell only 1 or 0, you're at a loss. So it's the turnover that makes the profit. So the appeal is out there for every of our businessmen, traders, to apply the brakes and allow the economy to work. Cooperate with government. Let's all make these sacrifices to make our country great. We have no other country. This is our country. And we've got to salvage it together. And one of the ways to do it is to ensure that the inflation we are currently experiencing would begin to go down. Food should continue to come in, and with purchasing power high, the economy will begin to pick up if we all cooperate. That's my appeal to traders and business people.
See, while in the spirit of appealing, you're honorable, you know, we've had issues in the past where states are not, complying with this minimum wage. So this time around, there's been an increase in the, national minimum wage. I want you to add your voice to this issue about compliance in states. Talk. Say something about it.
This issue of compliance in states, it beats my imagination really, because I don't think any state should ever complain. For instance, this current one we are dealing with, there's a jump since June last year in the income to every state in the country. When they come for FAC meetings here in Abuja, what they take home now is 3-4 times what they used to get in Naira terms. So there's no excuse whatsoever. The least paid, the state that correlates the least allocation today, if you do the mathematics with the number of their civil service strength, you know that they can pay it. But we know the problems with our country. We'll call on our governors to be humane. Let's not leave this job to Mr. President. Let's all make our country work. Let's pay this minimum wage. It's minimum 70,000 naira. It's an appeal to executives at the state level, at the local government level now too, because they are going to be getting their funds directly based on the Supreme Court judgment. They should do the needful. And I don't see any state from my calculation that will not be able to pay and then do some capital projects with the volume of money they are currently getting. So it's an appeal we are going to keep appealing. And then citizens need to hold subnationals accountable. When these FAC allocations are announced, let's hold the states accountable. You got so and so amount of naira. What do you spend it on? Until we get public office holders accountable, we will not get out of this problem that corruption has put our country into. And at the subnational level, there seems not to be enough torchlight. There seems not to be enough citizens' participation and agitation at that level. And that must take place. If your state is not paying, you must cry out. You must, do the analysis and let whoever is in charge in that state know that the citizens, they are aware. And with increase in awareness, I tell you, all states will eventually pay. They will. Okay.
Now, Willis, just give us your final thought on this issue of the national minimum wage.
I want to appreciate Mr. President and the leadership of the National Assembly for expediting this National Minimum Wage Amendment Act bill and being signed into law today. We really commend the leadership of the National Assembly, and then we also call on Mr. President for a swift assent to this bill, which will eventually culminate into an additional purchasing power to the civil servants. And to the civil servants and public servants like me, I want us to be patient. We've been patient for a while now. Let's be patient. Let's not start formulating or imagining and sending all manner of humongous figures all around the social media. We should just be patient. This thing will be done by the relevant authorities, and it will get across all the MDAs for full implementation across board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I want to appreciate Labour for being realistic, for accepting 70, and then knowing that that's the best for our country at this time. I also want to appreciate Mr. President, because from is it 1 million naira the whole thing started from, then 250,
600 and something,
600 and something, and then Mr. President was able to manage this and negotiate it in the interest of the country. Kudos to Mr. President. That's beautiful. He wasn't stampeded into what he should do. He had the interest of the country at heart. And I know that he will expeditiously give his assent. So I would also want to appeal to Nigerians to cooperate so that we all can get the dividend of a democracy and the benefit of this new minimum wage, so that it can be a living wage, like Mr. Speaker will call it, for all Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we draw the curtain on today's episode of Nigeria Today. We appreciate our guests. We had Honorable Francis Ejirogene Waive, is a chairman, Committee on Rules and Business of House of Representatives. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
And your contribution. And also we had Nuhu Bulus, Senior Officer in the Office of the Auditor General. He's also a Chartered Accountant, Chartered Tax Professional. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.